Hi everybody, welcome to the dive brief. So in today's video I'm going to be taking a closer look at how to set up your first stages on a twin set, because on a single cylinder, granted there are quite a few different ways that you can assemble them and sort of have your hoses routed, but on a twin set you're doubling the configuration, so it can be a little bit sort of complicated. So this is one way. This is how I like to do it. This is how quite a lot of other people online like to assemble their twin set first stages. So I'm going to go through each of the hoses and kind of why I put them where they are and what the benefit is. So yeah, let's take a closer look. Right, so starting off with your right hand post, so that's the cylinder on your right hand side, behind your right hand shoulder. This is the simplest one, but this is your kind of your primary, because that's the one that your primary regulator is attached to. So off of this one, actually I'll talk about the first stages first. So this is an Apex DST first stage. This is the 5-port version. So you have that 5th port that comes straight out of the top, and then around it you have 4 swiveling turrets. You can adapt sort of more basic first stages to a similar design, but I like this design because it's the neatest. You can see none of the hoses are sort of just bending awkwardly, so it is kind of the best sort of all around, and that's why I chose the Apex DST. Fitted at a sort of 45-degree angle, slightly sort of angled, again just so that the hoses aren't twisting over each other, they're not bending, they're not getting in the way of the shutdown on the manifold. It just works. Nothing on the top, because if you're diving in an overhead environment, the first thing that's going to sort of hit whatever it is going to be sort of there. So if you've got any soft hoses, then you can damage those, and of course you don't want to do that. I'd rather it hit a solid chunk of metal. But yeah, coming off of that, I've got 2 hoses. I've got one for my primary, and that's fitted to the swivel turret, and that's on this really long 2.1 meter long hose. So that is the one that I'm diving from. That's the one that I'm breathing on for most of my dive. In the unlikely event that someone else should need some gas, I can donate that. They have lots of hose to go sort themselves out. Even if we're swimming single file, you have plenty of hose on that. And because it's that swiveling turret, it just allows that hose just to kind of sort of move wherever it needs to without having to bend it awkwardly, restricting airflow or putting too much strain on this ferrule, which can damage the hose. So if you do need it to come out at a different angle, it naturally kind of routes itself, but for most of the dive it's pointed downwards, so that goes down towards my right hand hip, so it's nice and neat and streamlined. Other than that, on the right hand post I have a low pressure inflator hose, and that leads to my BCD inflator. So this is sized to go over my shoulder, over my sort of wing and everything, and then down towards the inflator on my chest, and that's how I inflate my BCD. So that is a way you basically want to isolate each of them so that they are redundant as possible, so that in the unlikely event that one should stop working or whatever it is, you can always breathe from one, you can always breathe from the other, and you can always control your buoyancy on either of them. So that was the right post. Everything kind of coloured in blue comes off the right hand first stage. The left hand first stage, the one on your left side, the one on your left tank, the one that comes over your left hand shoulder. So this is your sort of your backup, as it were. It's not quite a carbon copy of the right hand. It's not even mirrored. The way it's positioned on the tank valve, that is mirrored. It's got that 45-degree angle, and you've got the 5th port coming diagonally across. This leads to my alternate. So this is on a relatively short hose. This is the one that goes around my neck. So I've got a little necklace fitted to that second stage, and that's because it comes over the inflator hose, it just keeps it quite close to my body, so I don't have this sort of hose just hanging around, getting in the way. It's nice and neat. The second stage is exactly where I need it to be, and that way, yeah, if my right hand post should stop working for whatever reason, I can still breathe from that, and it's just that redundant backup. Also on this, so on the rotating turret, I have my dry suit hose. So that routes down the left-hand side of my twins, and then underneath my left arm, and then up towards the chest valve on my dry suit. If you don't have a dry suit, then obviously you don't need that. But if you are diving a dry suit, that's where you use it. So this, you can use your dry suit to control your buoyancy. If your BCD fails for whatever reason, you can't control your buoyancy with that hose, then you can use your dry suit to control your buoyancy. Also on the left-hand post in the high pressure, this is where my gauges sit. So on a rubber hose, and then it just leads down to a submersible pressure gauge. I prefer the brass and glass. They're just tougher, they're a bit more reliable. I attach a bolt snap onto that with a big eye, so even if I'm wearing gloved hands, I can still sort of grab hold of it, I can still control it, and it's really easy to sort of clip it off onto something. And that's it, basically. If you wanted to fit a wireless air transmitter, I'd fit it to this high pressure port on the right hand post. That way you can you can check how much gas you have in your tank with your left hand. You can also check how much gas you have with your right hand post. But realistically, that's just that little extra if you are diving with a wireless air transmitter. I usually like to put mine on sort of a short 6-inch sort of hose, just to give it a bit of flexibility, because a solid transmitter bolted onto there, it's not going to take much to kind of knock that and break it, unfortunately. So if you have it on a short high pressure hose, it can just be sort of free to move around, and then it's kind of on that side, so you can check your buoyancy, and it's check your gas pressure, and it's on the same side as my dive computer. My dive computer is usually on my right hand wrist when I'm in the water. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, let us know down in the comments below. If you have anything other, any other questions about anything to do with scuba diving, you want us to do a video on something sort of similar to this, how to do something, let us know down in the comments below. We'll see what we can do. If you have any specific questions for me, try and use the hashtag #AskMark anywhere at the beginning, at the end of your question. Just makes it a lot easier for us to find it. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.